निशान साथ है इतने के कुछ शुमार नहीं हमारे दीन का क़िस्सों पे मदार नहीं।
सुबह सुबह उसकी वफ़ात हुई। उनकी बहन ने मुज़र की आवाज़ अच्छी थी, अलार्म लगाया हुआ था सुबह नमाज का या तहज्जुद का, रिकॉर्ड किया हुआ था अपने फ़ोन में, और कहती हैं कि जब इसका आखिरी सांस था, वफ़ात का वक्त हो रहा था, उस वक्त उसी की आवाज़ में एकदम फ़ोन का अज़ान की आवाज़ शुरू हो गई।
अल्लाहु अकबर अल्लाहु अकबर.
And that azan felt like, as my brother was telling, that now it's time for you to go and pray to Allah Almighty. I'm not here anymore, but the only being that can help us, the living God, is Allah. And we said our goodbyes to our brother and straight away went to pray, because at that time we felt such powerful presence of a living God.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله
बंदे करके
मज़हर जो था एक आउटस्टैंडिंग बच्चा था, नहायत समझदार और हसास और दिल का बहुत नरम था। मज़हर जब जामिया गया और उसका एडमिशन हुआ तो मैंने वाज़े तौर पर देखा कि मज़हर में एक तब्दीली आ गई है, एक ऐसी तब्दीली कि मुझे महसूस होता था कि उसमें एक टेम्परामेंट है और उसमें एक जैसे कहते हैं ना कि एक समझदारी आ गई है।
And both of us, we joined Jamia Ahmadiyya and dedicated our lives in the same year in 2009. And I remember from the very first day, Mazhar Ahsan had a special impression on me. His positive mentality and also the self-confidence. But it was a self-confidence, it wasn't something negative, it wasn't inclined towards pride or arrogance. And I remember when in the beginning, when we joined Jamia Ahmadiyya, and he already had built up this passion to play basketball, but he was just in his initial stage. He started, or he was getting into this habit of playing. But even at that point already, he made his target to be one day one of the best Jamia players or member or part of the Jamia basketball team. So in the beginning, I used to really sometimes even laugh on him. I said, like, Mazhar, put some realistic targets for yourself. You just recently started playing basketball. But even during Jamia time, he already showed me how wrong I was and how I underestimated his willpower. Because during Jamia time already, he was a firm team member and team player of the Jamia team, and they won with the team, even on national levels, different tournaments. And it's just a small example which showed the really strong willpower, mentality, and the capacity to set high goals in his life and then strive to achieve them.
You're listening to the Voice of Islam Radio.
I was actually in October, at the end of October 2015. And as I said, I was actually a student of Jamia Ahmadiyya, which is an institute for missionaries. And I was actually in my final year. And I was actually feeling very ill, all those vomitings and stuff, because I never felt ill in my entire life that bad compared to what I was feeling at that time. Yeah. Red blood cells were going down drastically. My white blood cells were going down. My platelet levels were going down. They were asking me so many questions what's going on. Then later on, I had my bone marrow test, which confirms that unfortunately you have this leukemia. When I was told by the doctors that this disease is life-threatening, but if you treat it, you can be saved.
Yeah.
But there shouldn't be a delay in it, because if you delay in this treatment, then it will cause you, that life issues.
So when my brother was diagnosed with leukemia, the doctors told us that he should also get a bone marrow transplant because that was the best option for him.
I mean, it was really shocking for all of us. Just imagine you're in your 20s, you're in the final year of Jamia, and you're looking towards receiving the degree from Hazur, from His Holiness. We are looking forward to make this pass. You worked for that 7 years to finish Jamia and then go into the practical world, into serving the community and serving Islam. And at that moment, when we found out about the severe disease of Mazhar, all of us, we were in shock.
I had the honor of receiving the academic award from beloved Hazur. So as my name got called out and I walked on stage, Hazur looked at me and said that, "How is your brother?" Again, beloved Hazur looked at me and said, "Bhai kaisa hai?" So with a shaky voice, I replied to beloved Hazur that, "Hazur, aapki duaon se bhai bahut behtar hai." I spoke to my brother after that, and he said that he couldn't stop crying. He said that, "How insignificant am I?" But Hazur remembered me during the busy schedule of Jalsa.
And I remember that while we were being tested, a nurse actually told us that there is only less than 25% chance that we will be a possible match to our brother. But we just left everything to Allah and prayed with all our might. And when we got the results, we were absolutely flabbergasted and amazed at Allah's miracles and blessings, because not only was I a perfect match to my brother, my sister was also 100% match for my brother. And the doctors were surprised and amazed at the result as well, because we were 100% identical matches, because they checked the protein markers, the HLA protein markers, and they were surprised to see that not even identical twins have the same match. So I believe this was one of the blessings of Allah, that although my brother had to go through such hardship, pain and suffering, but at the same time Allah had given numerous miracles and blessings to show that He was there with him.
During his therapy and the disease, sometimes it happens that people in happy moments, we show certain level of loyalty, faith, trust in God. But when moments of difficulties, of suffering, of challenges, of obstacles occur in your life, we start losing our faith in God. But in the case of Mazhar, it was the opposite. The faith, his love for God, his loyalty towards God, his sincerity towards God became like crystal clear to see. His body was suffering. He suffered a lot throughout the disease, throughout the therapy. But what I saw in him, that not even for 1 second he suffered mentally or emotionally. And I think this was because due to his personal relationship with God.
Throughout his treatment, my brother wasn't worried about himself, but he was more worried and anxious that how he's going to spread the true message of Islam, Ahmadiyya, to the world.
On his wall, on the ward, he would have a notice board outside, and on that, the varying messages that he had written, love for all, hatred for none. He seemed like he was on a constant mission to continue his work as a missionary of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community.
I think back when my brother couldn't move, couldn't speak due to the reactions of the treatments. Not even once did he cry or complain about his suffering.
And I said, "But tell me the truth, have you ever cried?" And he said, "Yes, I have cried." But the words and the reason, the explanation he gave, it got stuck to me, and it showed the strength and the connection he had with God in his life. And he said to me, "I don't cry because of my own suffering." He said, "I cry because as an expression of gratitude." He said, "I cry whenever I think about the love of Khilafat I have received during my therapy, during my disease."
अल्लाह ताला ने इस नौजवान के अंदर एक जोश पैदा किया हुआ था कि किस तरह दीन की खिदमत करनी है उसमें, किस तरह अपने अखलाक और अपनी हालत को अल्लाह ताला के बताए हुए हुक्मों के मुताबिक ढालना है और इस पर अमल करना है। हर इंसान जो दुनिया में आया उसने एक दिन यहाँ से जाना है, लेकिन खुशकिस्मत होते हैं वो जो अपनी ज़िंदगी को अल्लाह ताला की मर्ज़ी के मुताबिक ढालने की कोशिश करते हैं और उसमें कामयाब भी हो जाते हैं।
So after my brother was cured from leukemia, he was sent home, and we were really thankful to Allah Almighty. Then it was the Eid day. This was a couple of months later after my brother's transplant, and my brother suddenly had a high fever, and he told us that he was not feeling well and we had to call an ambulance. But my brother didn't let any of us come with him to the hospital, and he said, "You guys go to the mosque for Eid prayers." And after the Eid prayers, we just went there to visit my brother in the hospital because of Eid. We wanted to celebrate our brother, and we went there straight, wearing the same Eid clothes that we had worn. While we went to the hospital A&E department, we got the absolute shock of our life because the hospital told us that my brother was actually not in the A&E, but he was shifted to ICU. He was extremely unwell. So that moment was extremely shocking for us. We felt that the whole world was upside down for us. We ran to the other building, and while running there, we just kept praying to Allah Almighty for the best, kept praying that everything was okay. When we went to the other building in the ICU department, consultant saw us over there, and he told us that our brother was dying. We were extremely shocked. We couldn't believe it at all. We were in the same room as our brother and couldn't believe that the same brother who went on his own 2 feet while talking away and chatting away with the paramedics was actually completely lifeless. He was induced into a coma and put up into a ventilator because he couldn't breathe properly.
And then, unfortunately, as days went on, the news unfortunately became more difficult. The hospital consultants advised that he developed quite serious complications following a very severe infection of his lungs. And I remember writing to His Holiness Hazrat Amirul Mu'mineen, the 5th Caliph of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, who I would write to on a daily basis to give him an update on Mazhar's situation. And basically what I'd written to Hazur Aqdas was, the ICU doctor had a frank discussion with the family about the seriousness of the situation with Mazhar Sahib. But he said, "We fear that you don't fully grasp the reality of the situation." He said to the family, "We can see you are intelligent people, but we don't see you crying, and you're all cheerful. Therefore we fear you may be in denial of the reality." At this, Aruba Sahiba, Mazhar Sahib's sister, explained to the doctor very respectfully and confidently that yes, we fully understand that our brother is likely to pass away. However, let me advise you that we belong to the Ahmadiyya Muslim community and we have a worldwide caliph who guides us on all aspects of our moral behavior and prays for us. You will not see us screaming and wailing. You will find us as you do, cheerful and resigned to God Almighty's will. However, at the same time, we are sincerely grateful for your efforts and we are praying that these efforts may be successful. Hearing this, the ICU doctor apologized to them for their misreading of their response and apologized and said, that most people we see from your background are in great distress at this time, and this is the first time we are seeing such a dignified and composed family. This was a very faith-inspiring incident for me. The resolve and the determination with which Mazhar's sister had spoken and the confidence with which she spoke, which again highlighted their deep resolve and resignation at God Almighty's will.
We were there when it was my brother's last moment, and I remember that all of us felt that the amazing embrace of love from Allah Almighty. He had enveloped my brother during his last moments, and the serenity radiating during those times kept us composed. We felt we were engulfed in a peaceful, calm environment, and that isn't possible without Allah's help. At that moment when my brother passed away, my alarm for the Tahajjud prayer went off, and it was the azan of my brother, and that azan felt like, as if my brother was telling that now it's time for you to go and pray to Allah Almighty. I'm not here anymore, but the only being that can help us, the living God, is Allah. And we said our goodbyes to our brother and straight away went to pray, because at that time we felt such powerful presence of a living God.
मज़हर की ज़िंदगी हमें ये सिखा गई कि एक ज़िंदा खुदा है और उस ज़िंदा खुदा को कैसे पाया जाता है। उसके लिए कोशिश करनी पड़ती है और जान भी कुर्बान करनी पड़ती है, तो वो ज़िंदा खुदा जो है वो मिलता है। वो ज़िंदा खुदा ना सिर्फ मिलता है बल्कि अपने प्यारे को गले लगा लेता है। तो अब मज़हर तो नहीं है हमारे दरमियान, लेकिन वो हमें बताकर चला गया कि आइंदा हमारी ज़िंदगी का असल मकसद किस तरह है, या असल मकसद क्या है, और हमारा लाया अमल क्या होना चाहिए। तो मुझे तो ऐसे ही महसूस होता है कि मेरा बच्चा मुझे एक ज़िंदा खुदा का चेहरा दिखा कर चला गया, एक ऐसा खुदा जो आजमाइश लेता है, लेकिन उसके लिए एक बंदे को वो ताकत और वो सब्र जो उसने अपने रब से मांगा होता है वो अता करता है। कि यकीन करें कि एक माँ और क्या चाहेगी। एक माँ यही चाहेगी कि उसके बच्चे को खलीफा वक्त की आंखों की ठंडक बने। तो हम बहुत खुश थे, और मेरे प्यारे जो मेरे घर वाले कह रहे थे कि अब गम नहीं करें आप, अब आपने गम नहीं करना। खलीफा वक्त का इतना प्यारा खुतबा, इतना प्यारा ज़िक्र खैर मेरे बेटे का, तो यकीन करें वो हमारे लिए अभी तक तस्कीन का रास्ता बनता है। जब मैं मज़हर को याद करती हूँ तो मुझे उस खुतबे को सुन के इतनी तस्कीन मिलती है कि जैसे ही वो अभी मैं पहली बार सुन रही हूँ।
जैसी इस अजीज़ नौजवान ने ज़िंदगी गुजारी है, वो मुरब्बी और मुबल्लिग ही था, ध्यान पास करता या ना करता। इमाम अलैहिस्सलाम ने एक जगह फरमाया कि याद रखो कि मुसीबत के ज़ख्म के लिए कोई मरहम ऐसा तस्कीन दे और आराम बख्श नहीं जैसा कि अल्लाह ताला पर भरोसा करना है। बस अल्लाह ताला पर ही हमेशा भरोसा होना चाहिए। तो इंतहाई वफ़ादार और अपने ज़िंदगी के मकसद को समझने वाला अहमदी बच्चा था। अल्लाह ताला हमेशा इस पर रहमतें बरसाता रहे, कि दर्जात बुलंद करता रहे। हमेशा इसको हमने अल्लाह ताला की रज़ा पर राज़ी पाया। अल्लाह ताला इसे अपने प्यारों के कदमों में जगह दे, और इस जैसे हज़ारों वाक़फ़ीन ऐसे भी पैदा हों जो इस बारीकी से अपने मकसद को समझने वाले हों।